My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Sammaz, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paulini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
Hello, Nick. How are we doing?
Hello there, Tom. How you doing?
Not bad, not bad. We're here at WTA Weekly. I think it's far too late for me to say Happy New Year, but this is the first we've spoken in 2025. How has your January been? It was a hell of a long month, wasn't it?
January's over.
Just about, yeah, just about.
It's all a bit of a blur for me, Tom. To be honest,
too much tennis, just too much, just overwhelmed by all the tennis.
Look, let's face it. I don't think any of us slept much for the last month with tennis being in Australia.
Yeah, other side of the world. Bring it back to Europe. But yeah, it's been a decent week. Not much going on. Is there a kind of sense of an Australian that Grand Slam hangover? I suppose all the players who got into the latter stages maybe not playing over the last 7 days.
Yeah, which is no surprise. It's very rare for a player who's gone deep in a Grand Slam to still be playing the next tournament. And I would also say somewhat foolhardy if that is what they're doing. So yeah, they need to sort of rest, recover, and bounce back for the next event, and that's what's happening. So yeah, I think no surprise that sort of some of the bigger names like a Sabalenka or a Swiatek or a Keys, Goff, they've not been in action this week, but that's what I think this is an opportunity for kind of other WTA players to shine, although maybe not the WTA players that I've been expecting to shine this week.
Well, we'll get into that. Yeah, I mean, tennis never stops, does it? It doesn't matter if we've just had a 2-week slog of a Grand Slam in humid, hot conditions. Tennis doesn't stop. Shall we get into it then? Yeah?
I think so.
Right, okay. Well, I was going to ask you, let me ask you. Say I've got a friend, right? Say a friend, not me, hasn't watched any tennis at all over the last 7 days, not men's or women's. What has been the biggest story in the ladies' game this week? And as I say, this isn't me I'm talking about. This is a friend.
So, do you mean off court or off court?
Well, what is the thing that first springs to your mind when I ask you what's the biggest story?
I would say, in terms of who's biggest stories, I would say from the week involve Emma Raducanu and Elena Rybakina, neither of whom were playing. Well, no, that's a lie. Emma Raducanu played this week, and I think she's dominated headlines throughout the week in that, she was playing Singapore, loses first round to Christina Buxer in a very, very close match. She's split with her coach because Nick Cavaday, her coach, has decided that he needs a break from coaching in general. And then there was a whole thing about Emma being in qualifying in Abu Dhabi, and this was like a whole going to be a whole thing of yes, she's finally playing qualies. She's finally willing to kind of do the hard graft in these tournaments. And then the Abu Dhabi tournament upgraded her to the main draw anyway, so it ended up being somewhat redundant. I'd say that's the name that's kind of been cropping up the most this week in terms of maybe an off-court story, followed closely by the news today about Elena Rybakina and her new coaching arrangement, which is, it just adds another twist to that saga that's going on. So we could obviously talk about that when we get to the Abu Dhabi preview. It's up to you, Tom. But I'm happy to talk about it now. But I'd say if someone says, what's the biggest stories from tennis? Unfortunately, I think off court slightly dominated the narrative a little bit more than on court at the moment.
Yeah, the wacky world of the WTA never ceases to amaze. Okay, well, you mentioned Singapore, so let's kind of kick off things there. The final finished, I think, early in there was for us. But 2 seconds. So we had Anne Lee, versus Elise Mertens. Elise Mertens taking the title. Did you manage to catch any of that match? And if so, was it any good?
No, definitely not. Started at a bad time. Like it was a 9 a.m. start, but I usually have commitments on a Sunday morning, so I didn't really watch it. It's no surprise for me, this result. Elise Mertens generally goes on deep runs in 250s when she's in there. That's why she's ranked where she is. She's pretty consistent when it comes to sort of the lower reach of the tour and the singles. Obviously, very, very strong doubles player too. So yeah, I thought this was how the final was going to go. We thought Anne Lee had a shot at it, but yeah, Mertens making the most of her ranking, her seeding at this tournament. She was number 2 seed. And using her court craft and guile as always to kind of get the job done. But again, I think that in terms of stories from Singapore, probably there were a couple of other things that happened that may have distracted a little bit from that run.
Yeah, we'll quickly focus on Mertens. Give her her due. It was her 9th career title. Do you know when she won her last one, or 8th?
I think she won a title last year. Could be wrong.
I don't.
When
breaks my heart to tell you that you're wrong. According to the WTA media notes, Monster in 2023.
Oh, yeah.
You remember it well now. You remember it.
I do remember it, and of course we all remember it because we know that was one of Talking Tennis's trips to abroad, and Monastir was perhaps the most far-flung that John Silk has ever travelled in pursuit of the Talking Tennis dream, wherever he is.
I think
there we go. Yes, a little reminder of that one. So yeah, 2023 Monastir, which in my defense was right at the end of the 2023 season. So it seems like it should be a year ago to me. We're very early in 2025.
I'll let you off for that. No, but a deserved winner, like you say, number 2 seed. Didn't really have too much trouble throughout the event. Winning most matches in straight sets. I think it was only Osario who managed to take a set off her. Can she kick on from here and have a really decent 2025?
I think Mertens has kind of settled into what kind of player she's going to have. I think she's a solid top 30 player. Could make top 30, 40 player, could make top 20 if she has a good, decent run enough. I mean, she is a Grand Slam semi-finalist, but I think we'd be more likely talking about her success on the doubles court than the singles court, if I'm honest.
And she's quite happy with that? You think you're saying that she's quite happy?
I think so. She's making decent money either way, especially when she's like doing both. So it's definitely not success to be sniffed at. She's one of the... Yeah, she deserves her place in kind of the upper end of the WTA Tour. She definitely deserves Grand Slam seeding. She's very good in the first couple of matches. I think how she matches up against all of the top players, she can run into trouble. She runs into trouble quite often against someone unless they're having a very bad day. So she's a very crafty player, and you can see why she has a lot of success on both courts. But doubles Grand Slams not to be sniffed at all. I think those who get them are very, very happy with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, and you mentioned, there was a lot going on in Singapore. Other stories going on. And I don't really want to kind of jump on the kind of pile-on with Rybakina from, press and other sources in terms of, the fact that she's not a multiple Grand Slam champion right now. She doesn't get it easy. But, she was 7-5 up against Puska. And let it slip, lost in 3. So another early exit for Raducanu. Another coach change, as you mentioned. And I just wondered, where is she right now? Every year we kind of start the year as UK tennis fans with a bit of optimism and saying, this is going to be her year. She's now, 3 or 4 years down the line into her career. And it's just always a little bit stop-start with her, isn't it? No momentum.
Yeah, it's something always seems to happen with Emma Raducanu, which is a shame because when she locks in and she's really competing, she's very exciting to watch, and can pull off the odd big win. I think just stuff keeps happening with injuries or coaches or other decisions. That's just those two main decisions mainly that it just seems to stall things. But fundamentally, she's a very, very good player. I also think that even if she had kind of been playing much more consistently, making deep runs in big tournaments, had those things not been interfering, she would still have been struggling to win Grand Slams in this era of Sabalenka and Swiatek kind of picking everything up and then occasionally dropping crumbs for someone else to pick up. Well, Goff is probably adding herself to that list, Rybakina when she's on. But yeah, at the minute, I would say, given how the only Grand Slam that that elite group of players don't seem to have a strong grasp on is Wimbledon, and given if Emma is fit, she looks like she really likes playing on grass, I'd say Wimbledon would be her best shot of winning another Grand Slam if it's ever going to happen. I guess we'll see if it is. I certainly am a believer in Emma's raw talent and ability to compete and will to win. But yeah, at the minute, it's just, again, these false starts do keep happening, which I can imagine does fuel some pessimism amongst other people. I'm kind of sick of the pessimism, to be honest, and I've just learned to accept what happens with Emma, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hopefully there's brighter days ahead for the Brit. Okay, so other points of Singapore, and I wanted to raise Anna Kalinskaya. Now, our friend of the show, Miles, he'd mentioned the fact that she always retires, didn't she, in her semi-final match?
Well, yeah. I mean, look, Kalinskaya is another one of those players, a bit like Rybakina, a bit like Mukova, not as prolific as Lucia Sarenko, but Rybakina even in that, where the body doesn't always hold up, and that has restricted her progress. Her breaking into the top 20 last year was overdue. That run in Dubai that she had was relatively impressive. And yeah, Kalinskaya was the only top 30 player in Singapore. Like, she was the top seed by miles. What do we make of this? She gets injured a lot. So do a lot of other players. Honestly, if not to hit the brakes really hard on a point I suppose you want to make, but my answer is, so what? So what? Like, she gets injured a lot. So what? Like, she's very, very good when she's not, and it doesn't affect her ability. I certainly don't think she deliberately gives up. She'll be back. She'll be competing. She'll give us she'll give us some more great matches. She was part of one of the best matches that didn't make the top 10 matches of the year last year in the Berlin final against Jessica Pegula. My answer to that is, Kalinskaya withdrew from Singapore. Really unfortunate for her. Does not make me any more pessimistic about her career compared to any other player. So yeah, so what?
Okay, good. I like that. Jake in the chat is asking about Linz at the Upper Austria Ladies. But before we leave Singapore, was there anything else in Singapore you wanted to, any other business?
No, I think we've kind of covered it. I think the only other name I think is worth mentioning is probably Anne Lee making the final, and she was the beneficiary of the Kalinskaya retirement after the first set tiebreak. But she's kind of also had some injury struggles over the last couple of years. I remember she made the final in one of the Melbourne Madness 500s that happened in 2021 or 22. I think it was 2021. And that final didn't happen in the end. It was a 500 level event. And then since then, she's kind of gone a bit anonymous. Injuries have hit her. So it's nice to see her back in another WTA final.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully this again is something that she can build on for the year ahead. Goes to slagging off my mic. I understand that. I'm in a very echoey room, but we'll plug on. Okay, so let's go to Austria, closer to home. And that was won by, as Jake had mentioned, Alexandrova. Did you manage to catch this one? And where was it won and lost?
I actually did watch this match because, I managed to get back in time to have some lunch and watch this match between Ekaterina Alexandrova and Diana Yastremska. Not the final I was necessarily hoping for or expecting, but not a surprise that these two players were delivering on an indoor hard court. And it was the kind of match you would expect from these kind of matchups. They're both big hitters. Yastremska's a bit of the Ostapenko mold, a lot of risks that get taken. She's trying to use that firepower as much as possible. Alexandrova, when she's on fire, is kind of really tricky to beat with the power that she could produce. And there was a lot of crazy momentum shifts. I think the only time where they were evenly matched was right at the end of the match from 4-4 onwards. And it was Alexandrova kind of got that late break and then just about served it out, but it got quite nervy. This is Alexandrova's third attempt to win at a Linz final, and she's finally got the title, finally got a 500 level title as well. So first, the biggest of her career. And I guess in retrospect, it's not a surprise that Ekaterina Alexandrova is the champion in Linz, because when she catches fire, she's very difficult to stop. These are exactly the kind of conditions that she would like. I guess when we were looking at some of the other names in the field, it looked pretty tough. But, actually, she's done pretty well. She's done pretty well this week. I think she should be pretty pleased with herself. Obviously, she got the win against what was probably the pre-tournament favourite, which is Karolina Muchova in the semi-finals.
Was Muchova injured, Matt? Did you say
there has been some discussions about Muchova struggling with a bit of an injury. Seemed to get picked up in her quarterfinal, which I did watch that match as well, and that might have contributed to her being bageled in the first set. But Muchova then still went the second set 6-4. So I think there's a possibility that she was restricted by some kind of injury. But even so, Alexandrova's got an impressive CV of who she can beat when she is playing well, and she was clearly playing well enough to win the tournament. So, hats off! Great week for Ekaterina Alexandrova.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think you mentioned it. Two-time runner-up here in Linz, 2024 and 2018. And Jake had asked the question: is it because of the low bounce that she does so well here?
Yeah, it would. It does. I think it does help. Again, she likes sort of faster courts. That's where a lot of her success has been. That being said, I don't think I think she's made a couple of 1,000 semi-finals, which is Miami and Madrid. And Madrid is obviously clay, altitude clay, but still the ball bounces fairly high. But we've also seen that Alexandrova is a pretty strong grass court player. Got some titles on that surface. And I think there was one year where she was looking pretty good for Wimbledon until she got injured. So I'm not surprised. I would see what Jake is saying with the low bounce. I think, to be honest, it's just the court speed amplifies her power. She's very comfortable moving, being quick. And I think it's just she just prefers as fast a court as possible. But the low bounce will definitely not hinder her.
Absolutely. No, and in terms of the event then, in Austria, anything else coming out of that you want to pick up on?
I think from Austria, in Linz, couple of names I want to throw out there. Again, Diana Yastremska, she dropped like a stone after the Australian Open, rankings-wise, and now she's got herself back around the top 50 again. So she's kind of recouped some of the progress. I think top 50 is about the right sort of ranking for her. Again, she's very Ostapenko-y, she's like red hot when she's on and very difficult to stop, but it is also a bit of an error machine. But I think this is a pretty good week for her overall, and she came pretty close to another WTA title. The only other name I just wanted to throw out there, Muchova was the story, and will she ever win a WTA title? And yet again, injury gets in the way of her. That's again a bit like with Hannah Sky. Biggest restriction in her career right now is she fully fit and healthy? But I do kind of want to spend a bit more time on Clara Towson, because what a start to the season she's had. She made the final in Auckland and won that by Osaka's retirement. She pushed Sabalenka in the third round of the Australian Open. She's now made the semi-finals in Linz. Watch out for Clara Towson this year, because if she's staying fit and healthy, friend of the show, she's going to be racking up a lot of match wins this year. And I think she's on a very good trajectory to be back seeded for slams. And then who knows what's going to happen from there. But I'm starting to get optimistic about her prospects again.
Yeah, and she's faded a little bit over the last, say, 12 months, because I used to always think before going into an event, she's got a chance here. Does she have the game that could, trouble the top four in any way? Is she a name that, any of the top players would say, right, I don't want to get her in my quarter, kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to mess with Clara Towson. I think she's a problem. I think we saw her push Sabalenka in 2 sets. Honestly, that first set against Sabalenka in Australian Open, I think that's the proof you need. And the second set, actually, because it was pretty closely contested. But that first had so many breaks. And honestly, if Towson wasn't making crazy errors, she would have won that first set. And probably been suddenly you'd be looking at a major upset with Sabalenka. Whether she would have pulled it off or not, I don't know. She can get a bit nervous, especially when she's not been in certain positions before. She's certainly got a big game that she could take to Iga Swiatek or Coco Gauff. I think she's definitely someone who could upset Rybakina on a bad day at the moment. So yeah, absolutely. I do not think any player wants to see her name in the draw because they know she's going to work them hard.
Yeah, absolutely. So closing that week, it's just been not the most explosive week, but things are starting to hot up a little bit. Again, we've got a couple of half decent tournaments. The WTA 500 in Abu Dhabi, I think, is probably the best place to start. A lot of big names coming back. Rybakina is playing it. I think she won it last year, and she'll be defending those points. But again, off court, you mentioned at the start of this, Rybakina and our coaching situation. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, we've got on the screen, obviously, we have a tweet from the Talking Tennis account about what happened. We have Davide Sanguinetti is going to be adding to her coaching team. Sanguinetti's mainly done ATP players in his career, like Brandon Nakashima has been his most recent charge. He had coached Dinara Safina towards the end of her career, but I think that was when the injuries were really taking hold and couldn't really make much of a difference in that. So I think it's interesting, but obviously Rybakina needs a coach because while she has Stefano Vukov can't coach her right now because of
suspension.
He's been banned. And the question is, of course, well, if Rybakina needed a coach, why on earth didn't she stick with Ivanisevic? Like, what was the?
Would that not have been his choice though? Was there a part of Ivanisevic just going, I'm fed up with this?
It's not clear what exactly happened there. But certainly, I don't think he was happy that Vukov came back into the mix without her communicating with him. That probably would have soured the relationship. Maybe it just didn't work. Okay, so it's mutual. That's good to hear. Maybe it didn't work, and not every high pro how they expected, and that Australia run. Just maybe there's something lacking about it. So maybe Sanguinetti can have some good input. I certainly think Rybakina needs another voice in the mix in addition to Vukov. I guess let's hope that Sanguinetti sticks around and this stops being a story for Rybakina's sake, if for anything else, because I think most of us tennis fans want to talk about Elena Rybakina playing good tennis. Elena Rybakina would quite like us to start talking about her tennis again and not about her coach or her fitness. So I would be very, very happy if this is the last kind of drama we see from the Kazakh right now.
And it's a very similar story to, I know we touched on Rybakina in terms of on the court and, where she goes in 2025. But it's the same old story with Rybakina. I know I skipped over it a little bit, but, she's had a coaching change again. She's playing in Abu Dhabi as well. And there's been a little bit of kind of movement in terms of, is she playing in the qualifiers? Is she in the main draw? Do you want to kind of just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so she was given the wild card into the qualifying. And then that got upgraded to a main draw wildcard, I think, because someone pulled out, or there was a space opened up, so they gave it to her because obviously you're going to want to guarantee a Grand Slam champion in your main draw to get TV views, to get people buying tickets. It's a smart move to give her a wild card in that respect. But yeah, with the coach, Nick Cavaday has now left the team. I think we mentioned that very, very briefly. We didn't have a lot of time to talk about it last week's episode of WTA Weekly. but Nick Cavaday has left because, he needs a break. It's his own decision, nothing to do with Emma. It's just a decision that he needs to do for the sake of his own personal life. But I think Emma now has no coach and is talking about trying life without a coach for the moment, which is interesting. We'll see how well that works. I think coaches are really, really good a way of stepping forward, but maybe Emma is trying to improve her base mental and physical strength right now. So interesting sort of situation. I would kind of guess. I'm kind of interested to see how it goes. She's got a really tricky opening round. She's got Marketa Vondrousova in round 1 of Abu Dhabi, so that's going to be a blockbuster opening round. 2 Grand Slam champions going to head, and it's going to be interesting to see with like Emma with kind of not a bit of match rustiness maybe, and certainly can be a bit up and down in the match versus Vondrousova, who is trying to come back from injury, and certainly I think is it might not be the healthiest opponent, so winnable match for Raducanu there, but kind of having a bit of a tough time right now.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I mean, it's a tough draw for Emma Raducanu, but it was also a tough draw for the actual organisers, wasn't it? Do you want to kind of tell us a little bit about Kasakina and the situation with her flag?
Oh my word! So yeah, I mean, tough draw for the organisers. I mean, I don't know what happened there. There was a really silly mistake where they put a Spanish flag next to Daria Kasakina's name, and there's multiple reasons why that could happen. Like her name was right after Paula Badosa in the seeding, who is Spanish, and is the second seed. Third seed is Kasakina. But unfortunately, putting a Spanish flag next to her name just set off a wildfire of speculation about what happened, because Kasakina doesn't have a flag right now and is living in Spain, and a potential nationality switch would be a really, really big story for reasons that should be obvious to anyone who doesn't live under a rock. So but of course it's a mistake. It's what's happened, but like even if it didn't have all of those kind of repercussions, it's still a bit of a silly error, to be honest, like putting the wrong flag next to it. Could be interesting to see if she addresses it in What the Vlog, Kasakina.
Has she addressed it in any social media platform? Has she responded?
No, not that we've seen. She's not put anything out there.
Okay, well, like you say, she's quite outspoken, isn't she? She speaks her mind, so yeah. I'm sure we'll get something during the week. It's a decent draw though, the 500, isn't it? Badosa, as you mentioned, strong in Australia. She's the number 2 seed. We've got Ostapenko on it. Caroline Garcia, I just noticed, was a wild card. She's completely fallen off a cliff, but
and actually, Garcia I'd say watch Garcia this tournament, because she's got Lulu's son in the first round, who is struggling to get some momentum this year. And then she's got the winner of Leylah Fernandez and Katerina Alexandrova. Be interested to see if Alexandrova continues the momentum from Linz, whether she can, like sometimes players do that, but most often trying to do back-to-back tournaments with a flyover is a bit of a challenge. And then, or Leylah Fernandez, who is definitely, hot and cold. That could be a winnable match for Garcia. If Garcia kind of gets some momentum going this tournament, it'd be interesting to see what she does with it. So yeah, that's a good spot there, Tom.
Yeah, and I mean there is some tasty first rounders. I've got Sofia Kenin and Pavlyuchenkova. I mean, another nice one, yeah. And what about Ons Jabeur and Ostapenko starting off there? So decent all round. I suppose I'll put you on the spot now. You are the expert for the week. You mentioned Caroline Garcia, but I don't think you're tipping her to win it. Is it? I'm gonna try and read your mind here, Nick, and I think you are going to go with Leylah Fernandez.
Oh, you see, you're reading my heart, not my mind.
That was it.
That's the problem.
That's where I got it wrong.
Yeah.
What are you thinking then?
I would love Leylah Fernandez to win it. That would be fantastic. Like, that would be fantastic. I think she, out of everyone in the draw, is my favorite player to watch. But if I'm honest, I'm a little bit pessimistic about her chances of getting past the second round. I mean, like that second round with Garcia is going to be very interesting. But then last year it was Kasatkina did well. I think she made the semi-finals or the final. I think it was the final actually, and then lost to Rybakina. I am struggling to see Elena Rybakina not defending this title, to be honest. Not unless someone that she runs across as a very, very good day, or she's really off. But I think she's pretty comfortable here. I think she wants to make a statement. She hasn't won a trophy since Stuttgart last year, and I think she's overdue to win something. And I think certainly tennis terms, she's been making positive signs. I think it's going to be a very competitive tournament because, it's pretty packed. But if I'm going to go with my head and who is the most likely champion, I'm going to go with the boring answer and the number 1 seed and Elena Rybakina.
I'm just sitting here thinking, and I suppose 12 months ago when she won the event, this might be a strange sentence to say, but I'm sitting here thinking, is that a bold prediction from you or not? Like, you're going for the number 1 seed, but at the same time, she's just like you say, it's no momentum, stop, start, false start, coaching all over the place, questions about the situation in her team. I don't know if that's a bold call for you or if it's you're playing it safe. I don't know. I can't figure it out.
I'm probably being bold in the same way that Vance is bold by picking the top 4 seeds in to make the semi-finals of Grand Slam. Jake, I picked Rybakina. But on the other hand, every pick on the WTA is actually, there's an element of boldness to it, to be fair. I think the only players that you can really pick to win a title that would be definitely not bold are Sabalenka and Swiatek right now. I think those are the ultimate kind of safe picks on a WTA draw at the moment. Because there's that possibility of sort of an upset. But if I look at who Rybakina's got on her draw, she's playing either Sonai Kartal or Katie Voynets. Definitely heavy favourite to win that one in round 1. Quarterfinal likely to be Jabeur or Ostapenko. I would back her to win against either of those. Definitely Ostapenko because she's got a very favourable head-to-head. Jabeur on a hard court is not as dangerous on a natural service. Semi-final, Rybakina's going to be all warmed up. Who she potentially got? Samsonova is someone who she has a negative head-to-head with. That could be a problem for her. But I think that's the only player in her half of the draw that could be a real threat. And then it's a case of who does she play in the final? Is it going to be... and the only players I could see beating her in a final would be a red-hot Badosa or a red-hot Caroline Garcia. So, I think...
You're really banging the Caroline Garcia drum here, Nick.
I'm going for Caroline Garcia as my dark horse this tournament. If a former WTA Finals champion can be a dark horse, number 3 player. And
our producer makes the point, though, you've completely written off Paula Badosa.
No, I said Badosa, red hot Badosa.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay. Must have missed this because I'm looking ahead in the schedule. Now, as somebody who watched Nosferatu last night, I'm going to take you to the Transylvania Open in Cluj.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored by the cinema. But it's not. I mean, it's obviously Abu Dhabi overshadows it, and but got the preview, and there's an interesting name on it. Playing Lucia Bronzetti, Simona Halep returns to the tour. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, look. If Simona Halep's going to get a wild card into anywhere, is going to play, it's going to be in Romania. So I'm very curious to see what kind of states Halep is in, because this comeback from the ban that she's had has been very stop-start due to injuries. She's not getting any younger. What's she now? 20. She's now? Not even 20. 34. Am I right? 34. I want to say. I can just get it up in front of me. I don't know why. Yeah, 34. 33. Sorry, 33. So she's kind of coming into that dangerous point in her career. Like, can she maintain her fitness? So Bronzetti is a tough competitor. as an opener, very sort of experienced at this tour level. But I think it's probably a good gauge to see where she's at tour level wise. Halep indoors in Romania. That her progress is going to be the story, whatever happens throughout the rest of the draw. And I think it will probably give us a sense of how long she might have left in her career.
I don't think you've got. Have you got any? I don't know, any notion that she can go all the way?
I think that would be optimistic. I know she's a former world number one and a double Grand Slam champion, but this is her first real tournament of the year. She's not going to be match sharp. She's definitely not, like, even if she was fully fit. Look, let's face it, round two, she's either going to have Gracheva or Stearns, both of whom would make it a real scrap. And then that would be tough for her to kind of outlast them. And then Begu will bog down in the quarterfinals. If this was Simona Halep from 2022 or before that, she would be the heavy favourite to take this title, looking at the names of this draw. Top seed is Anastasia Potapova, who should not be complaining about the quality of her draw, as she did when I interviewed her in Birmingham a couple of years ago. But I think looking at Simona Halep now, I think we have to be very cautious with whatever kind of prospects she has. And at the minute, we just don't have any data on it. And it's I like to be optimistic, but I don't have anything to suggest I should be.
And let's just say, and totally hypothetically, Simona Halep, she's been a great champion over the years. If she was to try and make this comeback and it doesn't work, how will we remember Simona Halep? Will just this whole saga be overshadowing everything that she's achieved?
It wouldn't for me. It already does for a lot of other people. So I think, there will be a massive asterisk in her career to do with the ban that she got. The other problem she has is I think she kind of underachieved. She was the world number one for a couple of years, 2017, 2018. But I can think of a couple of missed opportunities to win some Grand Slams, more Grand Slams along the way. Now, I think if you broke it down, I think you'd realize that maybe the opponent had a lot to do with it. But despite being consistently the world number one up until Osaka took it off her in 2019, and then that generation took over the WTA, the Barty Osaka generation, and beyond. She didn't really control the game in the same way. Couple of great wins in her career. Will go down as one of the better players of her generation, but probably wouldn't be cracking very high on anyone's kind of all-time greats list.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it's going to be another fascinating week ahead. Lots of plots and subplots, the scriptless drama of tennis, I suppose. Any other business in terms of what's been going on over the last 7 days or the 7 days coming up?
I think we've kind of covered everything from the last 7 days. I think 7 days coming up. I think I'm very excited about Abu Dhabi. It's another packed 500. That's what the WTA does so well, is like the 500s are just so watchable on that tour. I guess if you're a British person listening to this, you've got plenty of Brit action because you've got Carl and Raducanu in Abu Dhabi, and you've got Jodie Burrage and Fran Jones playing in Cluj. So
have I pushed you for a winner in Cluj? Are you happy for me to push you?
No, you haven't. I mean, Cluj is literally, I think,
it's a lottery. Just pick, just close your eyes and
pick. Spin a wheel and pick a random name.
That's how John John picks presenters for each show.
To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case.
I've been in his flat, and what he does is he has a dartboard, and basically all he does is he flings a dart, and whoever's face it hits, he just texts them and says, "Do you want to do a show tonight?"
Yeah, either that or he's got a dartboard with your face on it, Tom.
Oh, is it just me? Is it just me? Right, okay. Just because I slagged off his backhand.
Yeah, I think there's a lot. Yeah, don't mention John's backhand. I've learned that the hard way. I mean, Hopefully he's not listening to us right now. Anyway, so
no, he's working. He's working. Yes, Jake, it is a Boca Juniors tracksuit top, but I've been banned from mentioning football, so we'll move on. Okay, well, I mean, I don't know if there's anything else to.
Do you want a random pick for Cluj?
Yes. Sorry, you've still not given me that. You're like a politician, Nick. You're just not trying to answer the question, but go for it.
Jacqueline Christian.
Wow. Okay. I'm not gonna stick my money on that one, but okay. Okay, lovely job, Lee.
I only get 250 right a year, and I think I've already done that. So,
so that's it. So the takeaway from that is do not follow Nick's picks.
Yeah, no. I think the one prick I've ever been proud of from a 250 is. Do you remember when Linda Fravitova won a 250? I think it was the end of 2023.
I think so.
Yeah, she won a 250 and I called it, and then I was really smug about it afterwards, and I got a load of followers from it, and then every single pick after. So
everyone's like texting you every Sunday going, who's your pick for the week ahead? I once got that the Grand National about 25 years ago, and I got the winner. Now I got a mate who texts me the week before the Grand National every year, who goes, who's winning it this year? And I'm like, mate, I've not won it in 25 years. Stop asking me. So anyway, right, okay, well, I think that's us.
Yeah, thanks for running this one, Tom. Great job as always.
Not a problem, and as always, I doff my cap to your knowledge and expertise, fella. So I'm sure we'll do it again soon if John can hit the dartboard. All right.
Yeah, sounds fun. Let's do it,
man. Right, catch you
later, Tom. Catch you all later too.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.